Hey there. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. I'll say that again. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast. Oh, yep, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Now it's time for the Big Bad Broadcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to welcome you to Bitchin' Baby Boomers.
Hey everybody, it's John Ferrantino and welcome to Bitchin' Baby Boomers. Because if you're a boomer and you're not bitching, we don't need you here. So let me introduce you to the Long Island Clown College, the dean himself, Mr. Mike Grief.
Hey, all I want to do is boom, boom, boom.
And Joe Silky, the mind reader.
Ooh, I knew you were going to say that.
And Craig Mitchell, the man around town, the brains behind this operation, the guy who does everything because we're boomers and we don't know how to.
Now we know why we're so pathetic.
Just lost it.
We're old. As my son says, I could help you with your computer. Just give me a ring on your beeper. So anyway, we got a great show for you today. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. You're going to know who this guy is immediately, but we're going to hold you in a little bit of suspense. And we're just going to talk about some other TV shows that you must have loved growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know one that John liked. I know, right? Oh, right in your face. Sorry about that. Move it.
There we go.
Drag. My favorite Dragnet episode of all times was the traffic was all backed up going into a tunnel. And the detective comes out and goes, it's all taken care of. 2 hippies in there on LSD thought they were moles.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
LSD and pot were 2 of the worst problems they had on Dragnet.
Always those pot-smoking hippies.
Those pot-smoking. I just remember how straight-laced he was. Who's that?
Speaking of pot-smoking hippies.
There you go.
You said straight-laced. I put this right up.
That's it. Leave it to Beaver.
Yeah.
Oh.
Beaver?
Gee, Wally. Gee.
What was the mother's name again? June, right?
June, Ward, Theodore, or a.k.a. the Beaver, and, of course, Wally. Wallace.
And, of course, everybody's favorite, Eddie Haskell.
Right.
And, of course, Lumpy.
Lumpy, right?
Right, Lumpy was Beaver's
What was Lumpy's last name? Anyone remember?
Yes, I do. Rutherford.
Lumpy potatoes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lumpy potatoes.
What are you going to do as a kid to get the name
Lumpy Potatoes? He hung around with Lance Merge. I keep calling him Lance Boyle.
Lance Boyle.
I'm sure that wasn't one of his first names. He went from Lumpy Potatoes to Lance Boyle to Lance Merge.
When did he become the Worm? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was the end of his career.
The Twilight Zone.
Oof.
One like this.
That was cool.
Imagination.
It scared the hell out of me, this show.
What's your favorite? My favorite. I remember my favorite. Anything with Burgess Meredith, first of all, but Time Enough at Last. Time Enough at Last. You remember that one when he's got the thick glasses and everyone's annoying him about he's a reader and stuff. And
he goes down. He hoards all the books.
Right.
He goes down waiting for the big nuclear blast, and it happens.
Yeah.
And he steps on his glasses.
My glasses.
And my favorite one was Next Stop, Willoughby.
Yes.
Which one is that?
Yeah,
Which one is that?
The guy, every day he's on the train. He has a terrible life, and he keeps stopping at Willoughby. And the conductor keeps going, Willoughby. And he looks out the window, and it says, idyllic town. And then finally, he wants to get off, but he doesn't. And then finally, as the show goes on, he gets off at Willoughby. And when the train pulls away, he's dead.
Yes. But not really dead. He's in the
was,
Twilight Zone.
Right, Willoughby. Yeah, he's in the color scheme somewhere between black and white. There's a whole stream of color, like one tooth trying to bite itself.
Well, my favorite is Terror at 30,000 Feet with William Shatner.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a scary episode when he looks out and he's like, "There's something on the wing! It's on the wing!" That was scary as hell.
I love when the guy comes over and he's like, well, relax, man. Yeah, we all see it, but we can't disturb the passengers. And like, it was like, oh yeah, wait a minute, you're screwing with me.
or the one with what is it? Not Bill Murray, but the kid.
Yeah, Bill Murray.
Bill Mummy.
Bill Mummy.
Yeah,
and he's got those powers, and his family or his fake family do whatever he says.
Sends him to the cornfield.
Back then it was. Back then it was so different. There was actually a horror movie called The Boy with the Green Hair. And it was in black and white. And he would just go into the school and people would be like, "Ah, he's got green hair."
Wait, okay. Do you remember? Do you remember this joke? Hey, did you ever hear about the kid with the green hair?
No.
Me neither. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what I use. There we go.
Star Trek.
There's the crew.
I had
Star Trek, the only show I've never seen one episode of in my life.
How many years of a journey were they on, Craig? It was how many year?
A 5-year mission to explore new worlds,
to seek out new life and new civilizations.
Never cared to watch it. Never saw.
We should show him like the Trouble of Tribbles. That's a funny one. He would like that. One.
Yeah.
With all
what's
the
his name?
little
what's his name? The who's the guy that had the tribbles? Not Edwin. Is it Edwin?
What do you mean? Who had the tribbles? Oh, the guy who had the tribbles?
Yeah.
I just saw it the other night. Can't think of his name. Cyrano Jones. Cyrano Jones. Oh, it tribbles, my friend. Yeah.
Hey, okay,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you got tribbles. I got tons of tribbles.
I got a tribble in my shorts, Oh, there we go. The eternal question, Ginger or Marianne?
Yeah.
Or Gilligan for you, Craig.
No. I
was a Mr. Howell guy myself.
Lovey. He's doing something to my. He's making my balls disappear.
Come here, Gilligan. I have money.
Look at Ginger, man. She was tall.
Dude, when I first met my wife, she looked so much like. I mean, she was a dead ringer for Ginger.
Nice.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Let's bring out those old pictures next episode.
Well, sure.
I used to look like Gilligan. Now I look like the skipper. That's good.
Well, there was a show. I don't know if you guys saw this. One Step Beyond, which was kind of like the Twilight Zone, but it was scarier because the host. There it is. The host said the stories were real. So as a kid, I knew that a host of a TV show would not lie to you, and they had to be real.
And then there was that song. And then there was that song years later. One step beyond.
Now,
I don't know. I remember the Outer Limits. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I remember One Step Beyond.
Now, everybody in the show must pay homage to this, right? Come on.
There you go.
Who did
George Slatter.
Okay, little name drop story here. George Slatter had a show called The Comedy Club, and he asked me to be on the show. And I got to be in makeup with him, and we were talking about laughing. And he said Goldie Hawn came in, and he gave her like 4 sentences to read, and she could not get through the first sentence without laughing hysterical. And he said, "All right, take a deep breath. Let's try it again." And she got 2 words in and just couldn't stop laughing. And then finally he goes, "For the last time, this is your last shot." She read like 1 word and couldn't stop giggling. And she said, "I'm sorry I've wasted your time." And he goes, "No, you're hired." And that was her job, just to laugh.
Yeah, she cracked up all the time. That was one of her things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
He discovered Goldie Hawn.
She was like always in a bikini or something like that. She'd open the window or something. Was that?
Yeah.
The joke wall.
Those tattoos, those cheesy tattoos.
The dancing.
She looked like Tweety Bird. Back then. She really did. She had that cute little bubbly she was great. Every guy fell in love with her.
And 2 years after she was on the show, she won an Oscar. She won an Oscar
Really?
for Cactus Flower. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she did. I know. That's totally not funny. And thanks for putting that in there, Craig. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Rowan and Martin were really funny. They were really funny.
Oh, they were.
What is a bippy? What's a bippy?
You just something you bet.
A
You bet
bippy?
your bippy.
You bet your bippy.
That's a sweet bippy.
It's like a gimble.
That show was so iconic that everybody wanted to be on that show. Nixon was on it.
Nixon
Muhammad
was on it,
Ali. I mean, it was like you weren't
Sammy
anybody
Davis
unless you
Jr.
were not laughing. Sammy Davis, here comes the judge. Right?
Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
Tiny
John
Tim.
Wayne was in it in a bunny costume.
Right.
He really was.
John Wayne
Tiny
was in it.
Tim.
A bunny.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, here's a bunny costume for you.
It's kind of itchy there, Pilgrim.
Yeah. Would somebody scratch my gun? All right.
And my favorite show
actually
of all
scary,
time, was Get Smart.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I think I have. Let me guess. Oh, there you go.
Hey, the cone is out. Look at that. I love it.
We were talking about this before we started. The Cones of Silence, every time they said, we're going to go into the Cones of Silence, you just started laughing. You knew what was going to happen. It was the same joke for 5 years, but you laughed every single time. I'm going to tell you something. What?
Hello, Chief. Let's use the cone of silence.
Max, that thing never works.
And I remember one they had like the portable cone of silence, which was like these two balls, and there's a tube between the two of them.
Oh,
And look at the design. It's amazing that it wouldn't work. Their mouths aren't even in it.
It looks like a bra for King Kong's mom. Is what it looks like to me.
Or it looks
Would you
like
believe we're surrounded by the 7th Fleet? I find that hard to believe, Mr. Smart. Would you believe the 6th Fleet?
Would you believe,
I don't believe that either.
Would you believe I had a fleet enema?
The old chaos agent behind the door bit. I fell for that 3 times last week.
I told you not to tell me that.
Such good shows.
I love it. You always ask the chaos agents if they had, dental or something like that about their health plans.
Yeah. They want to know whose union was better.
I always wanted to be Agent 13. You would find him in a garbage can, in a toilet, in a refrigerator, or just his head. And it was either I think Joey Foreman was Agent 13. I forget who
the original wasn't it Buck Henry wrote the pilot of it, I think?
Buck Henry and Mel Brooks, yeah.
And Mel Brooks, yeah.
Yeah.
Hilarious show.
Two not funny guys, obviously.
There we go.
Monsters.
The monster.
And you know what the news about this is? Rob Zombie is making a Monsters movie.
Really?
Just announced. Yeah. He loves
I'll
the
go
Monsters.
see it, man. I love the Monsters.
I wonder, is it going to be comedy or is he just going to have them killing everybody? Rob Zombie does like these really gory horror films.
And Al Lewis went from being whatever he was on the show, like a vampire, to running comedy clubs.
Grandpa.
So he was still sucking the blood out of you.
Yeah. He used to have a restaurant down in the village called Grandpa's. It was Italian. I used to go down there every week and bust his chops. Go, hey, Grandpa, where's Herman? He go, yeah, I never heard that before.
Yeah. he would be giving people the finger in the window of that place. And hey, wave to him. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Here's Herman. Here's Herman right here. I got Herman.
So what did you like?
Who have you heard of a connected vampire?
So what did you like better, the Munsters or the Addams Family?
Addams Family.
I like the Munsters.
I like the Munsters.
Really?
Me too.
See, the Addams Family, little do you guys know this, the Addams Family, let me educate. The Addams Family, my grandfather is English, and the Addams Family was actually an English cartoon.
Yeah.
And then it came,
right.
and so
Charles Addams.
So for a kid, I mean, I used to have these bathroom books. He was very rich. He had bathroom books, and I would just read them in there, and it was pretty funny.
Toilet paper?
Yeah, she used the whole book. Got very expensive.
I know.
First editions only.
In the cartoons, his name wasn't Gomez. It was some other name. I can't remember
Frankie. It was Frankie.
No.
Adams.
Frankie Adams.
Yeah. I'm Joey Adams. How you doing? We're weird. We're strange. Come on. Hey, all right. Now, it was the Munsters that had the dog, which was a dragon that lived under the stairs, right? That was a Spot. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, his family had the hand.
Right? The hand, right. Thing.
And whose hand was it?
Whose hand was it? Whose hand was it? I don't know. Whose hand was it?
It was Lurch's.
Ted Cassidy. Correct. It was Lurch. That was his hand.
Wow. Really? I never knew that.
I am the king of TV trivia. There's nothing to me.
It was basically just a dead Beverly Hillbillies show. It was the Beverly Hillbillies, only they were all dead.
Yeah. Weren't they dead right from the beginning of the show?
Yeah.
Well, here's a true story. The Munsters were created by the same people who created Leave It to Beaver. And their idea was, let's have this family full of Munsters, but treat them like they're the Beaver family and have the same kind of problems. And ran for 2 years. It was pretty funny. I loved Herman.
Herman Munster was just your every guy. He had a regular job. I forgot what he did, but he was just like a regular
parlor.
working at the right. Whereas Gomez Adams, they were like rich. They didn't have to do nothing. That's why give me the Munsters. I like the working.
And
give me
George Barris did the Munster car.
Two cars.
Right. Dragula.
The Dragula.
And the special car of our guest today.
That's right.
Meanwhile, the Munster car was the coolest car ever.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
I have to go with the Batmobile.
And he also did the Beverly Hillbillies truck. And
really?
The monkey truck. And the monkey's car.
I did like the Monkey Mobile.
I don't remember the Monkey Mobile, but I remember the truck.
Speaking of monkeys, how's your army, Mike?
Rapidly building.
It's been several weeks.
Yeah. You know what? Just relax. Don't worry about it. Forget I ever said anything about it, but you'll be hearing about it.
I was going to say 3 weeks. Have any of them shown up yet? Did you order them?
I wrote back to 1972 to see if I could get some.
Well, if you can't get them, there's a guy that smuggles them in from Africa in his pants.
Nice.
18 at a time. All right. Well, we got a great show. I think we covered every TV show in existence. Well, the ones that we liked. So anyway, without any further ado, because that sounds very radio-like, doesn't it? Without any further ado. We're going to turn the show over to Craig, because Craig has a special guest for us.
Thank you, John. I'm really, really excited about this. Our guest is world famous for playing Robin on the 1966 TV series Batman. He's a legend just for that, but also he and his wife Tracy have rescued over 15,000 dogs at their Gentle Giant Rescue in Norco, California. This is the epitome of a baby boomer. Please welcome Mr. Burt Ward. Yes.
Hey, Burt. Hello, citizens.
How are you doing today?
Oh, great, thank you.
Awesome. It's great to have you here. I am a huge fan. I'll get my geekdom out of the way first. I still have my signed lunchbox that you and Adam West signed for me about 5 or 6 years ago. That's awesome. I'm wearing my Batman and Robin shirt, and that's how much of a geek I am. But it's
about
great.
Your Robin underoos?
Oh, he's got those too.
Well, I didn't think anybody read my bio. Thank you for reading it.
And for anybody watching, you may not notice, but the Batcave has gotten a little overgrown.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a visit from Poison Ivy, I see. Very nice.
I've combined your two loves. See, bat dog.
Yeah, see, he's got a bat dog in back of him. See, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, two loves together. So there's a lot of questions I always wanted to ask you, but I think the first one is when Batman hit in 1966. Was it one of your first acting jobs? Correct.
It was the very first thing I ever tried out for.
That's insane. That's insane because the thing is, you got it, which was great. and then it exploded like Beatlemania. I mean, maybe even bigger. How did you handle that at such a young age?
Well, honestly, I was really, I never thought of it like you might think of it. For me, I was, it was fun. It was like, I don't know, you get into something and yes, it's nice that people are like really, screaming fans and all of that stuff. But for the most part, I wasn't out among those. I was on a cold sound stage, sitting there 45 minutes waiting to work 30 seconds. And it wasn't quite as glamorous as you might think. I did appearances on the weekends, and yes, and it was crazy and stuff like that. But, I'll tell you how it was, because at the time I would wear my costume when I would go out on the appearances. Yeah. And just think of it like that mask was like a television set. So I was like in my own living room or world, if you will, and I'm looking through a mask and I'm seeing people do, they're crazy this and that and screaming and all of that. But it really, I didn't take it as me. I just looked at it as though I'm watching a show on television. You know what I mean?
That's really,
so it really never affected me that way. I just always, I never thought of myself, any better or bigger or grander after getting the show than before. So I just, and it was so funny because I would go out and make appearances and people would go nuts. And I mean, just, you can't even believe the kind of stuff. And I would go back in a trailer and get changed and come out in my, civvies, as Burt Ward, and nobody would recognize me. I could stand right next to the people that were screaming hysterically. They wouldn't even know I was there.
The mask really worked.
That's great.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things on Batman that I always thought was kind of like hard to believe. Here you've got Batman and Robin rushing into Commissioner Gordon's office, and then they leave, and 2 minutes later, Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson come in, and you mean the commissioner and Chief O'Hara can't figure out that there's, two people that are the same size as Batman and Robin, even if they're not in costume?
And they're the best police they had.
And their voice sounds oddly the same too. And
I just recently did. I've done a different couple of projects. Recently was on Supergirl. That just before the main titles, I did a thing as Dick Grayson, and I also did 2 movies for Warner Brothers in the last couple of years, and it was really crazy because when I did all my lines, I could see the people from Warner Brothers like in the control room, and they're all laughing, and I'm saying to myself, why are they laughing? I mean, they know what the script is, right? I mean, what's going on? And then they'd stop and come out, and the executive producer said to me, he said, "We are so blown away, Burt." I said, "Well, why? Why?" He says, "You sound exactly like you were 50 years ago. I mean, not when you do the Robin voice, it is exact. It is almost scary to us that it could be so exact."
Well, that you're
I understood that why they were, acting like that, because I mean, I couldn't figure out what was, why were they just so enthralled?
Well, you were talking about the 2 Back to the Batcave animated films you did?
Yes,
right?
You're right. Yeah,
and also,
right. And yes, and then the one with William Shatner, which was the last one,
False Face, was he? Or no, he was Two-Face.
Yeah, Two-Face, right. I mean, when you think about it, here you have Adam and I from Batman and William Shatner from Star Trek, 2 of the most iconic television shows in history with the actors working together. I just thought that was cool. I mean, I wish we still had Leonard Nimoy. It would have been great.
Yeah, my head would have exploded if I was anywhere near that, man. That's awesome. As a matter of fact, I can do an impression of you from the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths. I can.
Oh, okay, all right. Good.
This is now. It might be a little Casey Kasem, so don't be mad. But here we go. Ready? Here we go. Holy crimson sky of death! Thank you very much. I had to do that.
I think I'd rather hear Burt do it.
That's pretty close.
Oh no, it's all homage. Trust me.
No, actually, Craig, if you close your eyes and put cotton in your ears, and you're about a mile away from that, it does sound exactly like it.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
I wanted to ask you. You said you were wearing the mask. It felt like you were watching on TV, but you interacted with some of the biggest names in television and entertainment on that show. I know there's a lot of villains, and I know there's a lot of allegiances, but are there any villains or guest stars you especially really enjoyed working with?
Well, think of it this way. For me, as a young actor, coming on to co-starring in a series, working with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, every one of these stars that came on the show were someone that I'd either seen on television or watched in a movie theater. I mean, I was like the kid in the candy store. So for me, everyone was super special. I have a memory like when Vincent Price came on as a child. I had seen the movie he did called The Raven, and me. And so when he first came on set, I had that momentary, flutter in your stomach and your heart, where oh my gosh! But he was such a nice man, such an incredible talent. And fun to work with, and I mean Milton Berle, Lucas Lilac, and then you have all the regular Cesar Romero, the Joker, Burgess Meredith, the Penguin, Julie Newmar, Catwoman, Frank Gorshin, the Riddler, Cliff Robertson, Shame.
Yeah,
when you first started, that must have been really intimidating for a kid. Like you're in the same room with like these famous people. It's like a dream come true. The whole fantasy world going on for you.
Well, that wasn't really intimidating for me. You have to understand how I got the part. I interviewed for it without knowing what it was. I was actually, I was working for my father selling real estate on the weekends and sitting on houses. That's what they call it, sitting on houses, where you're there when people come into an open house and you show them a brochure or answer a question. And a producer had come in, and now separate of me doing this on the weekend, I was studying professionally. That I studied for years, and at UCLA in their acting class. But I had never gone on an interview and never met an agent. And I actually met this producer. His name was Saul David. He produced the Von Ryan Express movies and Skullduggery and many other movies. And I asked him, I know it's kind of crazy, but I asked him if I could do a scene for him. And he was kind of surprised. He said, okay. So I did this little scene just for a couple of minutes. He said, I think you're talented. Let me send you to an agent. So he sent me to this agent, who the very first thing the agent said to me is, I would never take anybody new. I can't get work for the actors I've got. The only reason I'm taking you is because this producer called me and I have to do it. And don't expect to work for a year. And if you do get a job, you'll probably get one line. Well, wow, that's like not too terribly encouraging. But I left there, and it was a couple of weeks later, someone in his office called and said, there's something going on over at 20th Century Fox. They didn't know what it was, but we got you on a list, so go over there tomorrow, 4:30. They'll give you a drive-on pass, and then, you meet whoever the casting director is. And that's what I did, and I went in and I saw a casting director. He asked me a couple of questions, and then he said, would you like to meet the executive producer? I said, sure. I figured everybody got to meet the executive producer. Well, that's actually not true, but I didn't know that. So they sent me to another bungalow, and I went in to see William Dozier, and he was very famous, as I found out later. It was vice president at CBS and did all the Hallmark Hall of Fame movies. I mean, movies for television and stuff. So I walked in, and again, because I had never been on an interview and I'd never been rejected, and I was really not intimidated, as unfortunately most actors are because of so much rejection. I walked in, I said, hello, sir, and I shook his hand, and he was like taken aback that, here's an actor that can be just so forward, but still polite. And he looked at me and he said, well, you're kind of big for the part. I said, oh, but sir, I promise you, I won't grow anymore. And he laughed. I mean, how could you stop somebody from growing? And he asked me another couple of questions, and he said, would you like to do a screen test? I said, sure. I mean, I figured everybody got to do a screen test. Well, that's not true either, but I didn't know that. And that's when it was set up. And later on, a couple of weeks later, I went back to 20th Century Fox, and they wanted to see some martial arts, and because I had started studying martial arts, and that was very new in America. And I broke a board with my hand, and then I did a scene. They said, oh, well, here's some. And again, I had no idea what this is about. So they said to me, well, we've got another actor, and here's a sheet of paper with your dialogue. You're going to be Dick. I mean, and on this, it had Bruce, with a paragraph of text, and then Dick with some more text, and then Bruce and Dick. Not Bruce Wayne, not Dick Grayson. And to be honest with you, since I'd never read a Batman comic book where I grew up, they didn't even have them. It wouldn't have mattered if I did know the last name. But so they said, here's the actor we're going to have you read with, and it was Adam West.
Oh, cool.
And I sat down next to Adam, and within 5 minutes, we got along so well. We were laughing and laughing, and we never stopped laughing for 50 some odd years. That's how much he and I got along so great. Anyway, so it came time. I did my dialogue and everything. They said, okay, cut. That's good. And I said, well, thank you very much. I started to leave. They said, wait a minute. We're not done with you yet. I said, oh. They said, no. We want you to go over to the other side of the sound stage. We have a trailer there. We want you to go into the trailer. There are 2 wardrobe men there that are waiting to help you get and to get dressed. I said, well, no disrespect, but I can certainly dress myself. I said, no, you don't understand. And I said, oh, and they said, just go over there. So I went over there, went into the trailer there. Sure enough, 2 guys, and I see this giant kind of a mattress or couch type of thing, had a ton of stuff on it. And I said, am I going to put some of this on? They said, no, you're going to put all of it on. And I said, oh, what? And so they helped me get dressed. Most uncomfortable thing in my entire life. Everything itched or pinched or hurt. I mean, everything. And I remember as I was hobbling to get out of the trailer, I turned to them, and being a positive person that I am, I said, well, the good news here is that after another 15 or 20 minutes, I'll never have to wear this costume again. Famous last words, right?
50 years later.
You mentioned about the martial arts. Is it true that you're a black belt?
Yes, I am, but at the time I was a brown belt. And another piece of trivia for you, when I was doing and filming Batman, I lived in a complex of condominiums, townhouses, and one of the people that lived in that same complex was a martial artist by the name of Bruce Lee. And he and I used to spar together. I mean, that's where you fight, you pull the punches. And a piece of trivia for your viewers is that, of course, Bruce Lee became the most famous cinematic martial artist in history and probably never be duplicated. But Bruce Lee's very first filmed fight scene of his career was fighting me on Batman.
That was the first one.
Wow. Oh, that
cool. Is so cool.
Yeah, that was the episode that he and Van Williams came on as he played Bruce was Kato, okay, and Van Williams was the Green Hornet, and it was the same producer, and because Batman was such a huge success. In fact, we were the number 1 and number 2 television show in the entire world, and 1 and 2 because we were on twice a week, and the same producer did produce the Green Hornet, William Dozier, and as a great kickoff to the launch of that show on ABC the next fall. That's why he had them come on to the show during the season that we were filming, the first season.
A lot of people don't realize that the Batman lasted 3 years, and basically it was 120 episodes. A show today that's a half hour, that would be 6 years. So
yes.
6 years
exactly. And not only that, then 2 feature films. Okay.
Wow. And
I've also done a bunch of stuff since then, various specials. Then there was a Return to the Batcave movie that CBS movie of the week, Sunday movie of the week. And then again, these and other things that I've done as well. And let's see, 7,000 personal appearances and over 8.5 million autographs.
Oh, wow. And I have 2. I have 3 of them. But I wanted to ask you before we go on. I want to talk about the Gentle Giants. But can you give us some thoughts about Adam West? Some personal thoughts, maybe about Adam. You and him.
Well, Adam was. It's funny. You know how some people just click. I mean, here I sat down to this, and I never met him, and here I'm going to do a scene with him. And like I said, in 5 minutes, we just connected so well. And I really believe that Batman's success, in part, was due to the really great chemistry that he and I had.
Absolutely.
Adam viewed himself as very grand and very debonair, and You know, that kind of a thing.
Right.
I mean, he once told me that he really understood what it was like to play Batman after watching Charlton Heston do the Ten Commandments, receiving the word of God. I said, "Oh, come on, Adam." You know, I mean, Adam.
He did receive the word of Commissioner Gordon.
So. Yeah. Well, then he told me, you know, there's the 3 B's, Burt. I said, the 3 B's? He says, yes, Bond, Beatles, and Batman.
I have a question. In all these new movies, there's never like a Robin. You know, how do you feel about that? They've sort of taken that tongue-in-cheek Batman playful thing and made him now this ultra dark character.
Yeah, they did that because of the audience that they were marketing to. That was their decision. You see, our show was family entertainment. Our show was everybody, from children to teenagers to college kids to adults to seniors. Ours was something for everyone. Whereas when you go into a theatrical, that you know they're targeting the people that go to see features in theaters. And I mean, yes, you do get some adults and you do get some children, especially if you have Disney type movies. But for the most part, you get the date night, the people who go out on dates and and as a special treat, let's go to a movie kind of a thing, dinner and a movie. So and then they got the idea that it would be better if Batman was edgier. And it really, there was some there's some people that didn't like that because Batman was as violent as the villains in the first one they did.
Yeah, because the first one was sort of like, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek and playful and fun. You know what I mean? It was just fun. It wasn't like scary, dark.
Well, our show was, but the movies they made, for the theaters, they weren't, there was real blood and real death.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so it's not the same, on our show. I mean, somebody would pick up a chair and, hit somebody with it and they'd fall down and 2 seconds later they're up again, and there there was never any, what you would say, anybody got really hurt, there was nobody, no blood and no implied death. It was just like, a kind of a bustling, rowdy time.
Well, I'll always be grateful for your family friendly version because, and I told Craig this before, why I was like a kid in the candy store that you're here, because as a kid, you and Adam saved me about 200, 300 times from Godzilla. I had a reoccurring nightmare as a child that I was looking out the window and Godzilla was always coming right at me, breathing fire. He was like he was coming for me, and after a few minutes of just being terrified, you and Adam, as Batman and Robin, would come and rescue me from the room.
There you go.
So,
wow.
That's awesome.
Took him years of therapy to even tell that story.
Well, and Burt, to accentuate your point about how playful Batman was, when I was a kid, when I was, I was 6, 7 when I was watching, when you guys were being put into traps, and of course you would get the, tune in on Tuesday, I would have a pain in my stomach. I was so stressed that, oh my gosh, something's going to happen to Batman and Robin. And now I watch this and I'm laughing hysterically. The dichotomy and the writing on that is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they did that was the concept is that they wanted to do it in a style that had never been seen before, which was basically, we used to say that we put on our tights to put on the world. And for kids, they took it as, serious, superhero worship. And the adults, they saw it as the nostalgia of the comic book they grew up watching. And the teenagers and college kids, if you remember back in those days, nobody wanted to be sitting inside watching television. They want to be cruising on Friday and Saturday nights, outside the drive-ins, trying to rev up their motors and but Batman, because of our campy style and because of the subtle implications and the double meanings that Adam and I intentionally injected, we really captured that audience of teenagers and college kids. I've had many people tell me that they would have to get into the cafeteria at the university an hour and a half in advance to get a seat before our show.
Wow. I was going to say real quick, did you and Adam ever have a chance to interject your own lines or say, hey, can I say this instead of that?
Well, we could make changes. You have to understand there's 32 different writers on Batman, and not every one of them got the style. So we had the flexibility to change our dialogue if it was necessary. But for the most part, it's really only changing a word or two, not changing the whole meaning of a scene.
What's so great about that show is it started off as this like kind of state-of-the-art, tongue-in-cheek show, but just became like a big wave. It just kept building and building, which is incredible, It's just
still going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it's like when it starts out, I can't even imagine. It's like you start out and you go, oh, it's a cool show, and I'm on the show, and I'm so excited. But then who would know, that it would just keep getting bigger and bigger. It's incredible.
It really connected, and, color television had only recently come in just before Batman. And when you combine the colorful costumes and the bigger than
and
life,
the villains were always so colorful.
The show, they loved doing it because they weren't limited to just the role that they would normally play. They could be bigger and badder as they could possibly be.
It's funny. I was telling these guys, because I'm probably around your age, that when we first got our color TV, we used to get TV Guide and look through TV Guide for any show with a C after it because it was in color. It was like a big thing. It was a big thing. I have a question too. I'm kind of a car collector and I have an old antique car. I cannot tell you how many car shows I've been to where there's the Batmobile.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder how many there were.
The most famous automobile in the world.
I wonder how many of the original ones there were, though.
There were 3.
There were 3?
Yeah, because when you're on set, if something goes wrong, there's no time to go make something new. You got to have a replacement instantly.
Yeah, I mean, that car is still iconic. In my opinion, it's the best Batmobile. I mean, they can make them as fancy as they want, and they can put machine guns on it, but that was still the coolest. And and I'll tell you, one of the things from your show, I can never eat clams because of that one episode. And
that giant clam I was in, that really was something. It was, if you're a claustrophobic person, you don't want to be in a clam like that, sitting there waiting for them to say, "Oh, fix this light, fix that light," and you're inside this clam.
Oh man! Wow. So, we're kind of doing a segue into animal life. So, I want to talk to you about Gentle Giant food, your dogs. I have a picture here. It's going to cover us for a second, but I'm just looking at all the animals you have here. 26 years old, 11, 20. Tell us more about that. This is something that we all love animals, so we're very, very curious.
Okay, well, for the last 26 years, my wife and I have been rescuing dogs. We actually operate Gentle Giants Rescue and Adoptions, which is the world's largest giant breed dog rescue.
That's awesome.
And but along the way, we've also rescued smaller dogs. We're just known for the big ones, but we actually have 45 different breeds here. We've rescued more than 15,500 dogs in 26 years. Every single one of these dogs would have been put to death in an animal shelter if we hadn't been there to rescue them. And every one of those 15,500 has lived in our house with us. They're not in other buildings. They're not in yards. They're living in our home as a member of our family. So at any given time, we always have a minimum of 50 dogs in our house.
Wow.
Great.
Well, you'll love this. You'll love this story then. My son-in-law, to be, is a very famous actor from England. His name is Ralph Little. He's on the #1 show called Death in Paradise. And they film it in Guadeloupe, French Riviera, Guadeloupe. So he was on the set, and this mangy street dog came walking in, and it had mange and just terrible. It had a broken leg that had healed itself. It was a puppy. So, he took it to the vet in Guadeloupe and got him all cleaned up. And then every day the dog would come onto the set. And then with the COVID, like the makeup girls were going to take the dog back to England. And then they couldn't take it back to England because they wouldn't let any pets come in. So the woman that ran the French restaurant said, "I'll take care of the dog until we can figure out what's going on." But then she had to go back to France. So she called Ralph, who was in Florida at the time, and said, "I don't know what to do. We can't turn this dog over." So he hired a veterinarian in Guadeloupe to take it to the airport, got it on a plane to St. Martin, had another veterinarian pick him up in St. Martin, take him for over the night, take him back to Miami. He had to rent a Tesla to drive to Miami and hired a customs guy to take the dog. I have the dog in my house now, and she's the sweetest dog, the most affectionate dog I've ever had in my life. I think she's so happy that someone's taking care of her.
Well, the thing is that what you want to have these dogs live the longest, healthiest, happiest life possible. And the problem is dog food and the way people are feeding and caring for their dogs is actually shortening dogs' lives. Our dogs are living up to 27 and a half years with a wonderful quality of life.
Craig, show him a picture of my dog. I have another dog that's 16. Show him my little.
This is John's dog.
This is my dog. They don't believe.
That's a stuffed animal. That's not a real dog.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. We have the best technology in the world, and we're the only ones in the world that our dogs are living so long and so healthy. In fact, the dogs that we have here, we are so healthy. We have no illness here, period. Our dogs are so healthy, the only time they go to a veterinarian is every 3 years for a $10 rabies update. That's how healthy they are.
So that people know where can we get the
I looked it up. Walmart, Target.
Right.
I'm so into this.
All the online retailers, Chewy, PetSmart.com, Petco.com, TractorSupply.com, Walmart.com, Chewy.com, and Target.com. They all have it. Our own website has it too, GentleGiantsDogFood.com. But let me just tell you how we do it if you want to understand how we have these dogs living to 27 years. It's not hocus pocus. It's science. And think of it this way. There's actually 3 things that you need to do. You guys know what a combination lock is, where you turn it to the left to get a certain number, then back to the right to another number, then back to the left. And you know that, like with a combination lock, if you don't get the right numbers, that lock is not going to open. Well, the way we have these dogs living so long, there's actually 3 things, and all 3 of them you need to get correct. 1 is how you care for your dog. 2, how you feed your dog. And 3, what you feed your dog. Well, our food is the food that can do it. It is different from every other dog food in the world. Our food is different. It's not the same, okay? And it's got the very best ingredients. It's not full of fat. And in fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to understand why your dog can't live as long as ours, go pick up whichever food you're feeding, doesn't matter. Pick up a few kibbles. Go rub those kibbles in your fingers. Put the kibbles down, rub your fingers together, and see if you don't feel that slightly greasy feeling. Have you guys ever felt that in your dog's food?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, my attorney told me to tell you that this guy in his office, his partner, is like the biggest fan in the whole world of your dog food, and his dog is now 21 years old, and he's been feeding the dog, and he said to him, if you get him on your show, you have to promise me you'll thank him for my dog's life.
Oh,
that's great, man.
So let me tell you what it is. Let me tell you that what you feel on everybody else's dog food is animal fat that has not only been filled in the food with the food's been filled with animal fat, but it's been sprayed on the outside of the food. And you say, well, why would they do this? Because it makes dogs hungrier to eat more food to make you buy more dog food.
Wow.
And it really works. It's like, you remember about 10 years ago, a guy went into a McDonald's, Morgan Spurlock in Ohio. He ate every meal for a month. He gained 55 pounds. He almost died. They made the movie Super Size Me.
Right.
It's the same principle. A high fat content and confuses an animal to believe it's always hungry, and it sells more dog food, but it cuts the lifespan in half. In other words, I tell people, we didn't discover the fountain of youth. Believe me, if I did, I'd be drinking from it. We're just not prematurely killing dogs. And the way we have them living so long is we make a food without all that grease on the outside. I mean, think of it this way. Would you take a can of bacon grease and pour it down your garbage disposal? No, you wouldn't, because unlike water that evaporates, animal fat coagulates. And when it hardens, it's like cement. So when you realize that animal fat will ruin a metal garbage disposal, what do you think is happening to the
Yeah.
arteries and intestines of everybody's dog that doesn't feed our food. But every single meal, every single day, every single bite is encapsulated in animal fat.
And isn't that a big problem with cat food? They add ash, and then they get like bladder stones.
Yes. A lot of cats have all kinds of urinary tract infection. By the way, we just came out with our new cat and kitten food, and 2 of our cats last year died. One was 31 years old. The other
my God.
32 years old. Okay, and they were eating our dog food, believe it or not. Well, cats do need a little extra protein. And so we've now modified our dog food for cat food, and our cat food is out there. And we've got all kinds of veterinarians literally contacting us saying that they don't even use any prescription food anymore. They just use our food because.
Can we ask you a question about that? Because one of our other members here, Joe Silky, he has a dog, a golden lab, and it has to have prescription dog food. What makes dog food prescription dog food?
Yeah.
Well, I guess not using some of the bad ingredients that is in the regular food. I mean, I've heard that people pay up to $150.
I know, and that was the other point. I mean to cut you off, but I was looking online. Your fruit is reasonably priced.
Really,
my wife and I take no salary. We
don't
take money for this. This is our charity. We love animals, so we don't take.
So we can't hit you up for samples.
we make it affordable so that we look at it this way. Tracy and I, my wife and I, we're totally into charity. We don't just rescue dogs, and we've rescued 350 cats. We've rescued horses. We're part of Horse Aid. We've rescued pigs and goats and sheep. I mean, anybody that rescues animals, cares for them and rescues them. So, but the thing that I want to keep coming back to here is that you understand that everybody's dog can live many, many years longer and many years healthier, and their cats can live longer and healthier. But in order to do it, 1, you have to care for them properly. 2, you have to feed them properly, and you have to feed a food that is really healthy for them, not something that clogs their arteries and intestines with fat. And there's other cheap ingredients. Sometimes they put in ingredients from China and stuff. I mean, you hear about these horror stories and recalls. We've never had a recall.
Well,
and the
here's
people
a question.
that make our food have never had a recall.
Here's a question, because I'm definitely going to go out and get some of the food. Now, how do I switch from what my dog eats now?
Great question. Yeah, think of it this way.
That's my doggie.
Great photo. Think of it this way. To understand how different our food is, suppose you were a person that your whole life you only ate meat and potatoes. You never had a salad. You never had any fruit. And now for the first time in your life, along with the meat and the potatoes, you're having salads, you're having fruit. It's a different density. It is not so heavy. You see? So the way you transition is you do it over a 1 week period, and you mix the food that you've been feeding with Gentle Giants for a week as follows per day. Day 1, 80% of that old food, only 20% Gentle Giants, because the introduction has to be very gradual, okay?
Makes sense.
To avoid diarrhea. So day 1, 80-20, 80% the prior food, 20% Gentle Giants. Day 2, 70-30, 70% the prior food, 30%. And then day 3, 60-40, day 4, 50-50. You're adding 10% of Gentle Giants each day. So by day 7, you've fed 80% of the food, and then day 8 you're switched over 100%.
That's awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much.
We're all going to try it, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what most people say. You might find this interesting. And so that you understand it, that what the way things work in an animal's body, their bodies will reject this horrible fat that's clogging their arteries and intestines, but it takes about a month to come out. And the difference between our food and other foods is that the other foods put all that fat and gook right back in their body. We don't put it back in. So what happens is people that use our food, they go through that 1 week transition, and then over the course of the next 4 to 5 weeks, when all of that gook has come out, of your dog's arteries and intestines, your dog all of a sudden, people write to me and tell me, I got a different dog. I can't, this is, my dog stopped jumping up on my bed 3 years ago, and now he's jumping up on my bed. Thank you for giving me my puppy back. It changes dramatically, not a minor change. We're talking about a huge change because you've opened up their arteries and intestines, and you're allowing the nutrition to flow freely throughout their body, and everything changes.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm having now with my little one, that little cute one. Is he's 16 years old, and the vet goes, well, he's having those respiratory problems that those dogs have. They say the heart gets bigger, and then it kind of...
Well, and just think, what happens when you clog arteries?
Right, now that's
dog, and clog intestines. And, you remember like when you were a kid and you're going to school, and we all learned that even though we didn't see it, every time we washed our hands, we would often wash off, cells, and they were replaced with new cells. Well, that's the way the body replenishes itself. It replaces the cells. But if you block the intestines and you slow down the replacement of cells, you actually increase the aging process.
Right.
Wow.
So is there different, how like dog foods now, it's like you got to be a pharmacist if you go to like PetSmart. There's from 3 to 5, 7 to 9. Is it all the same?
Yes, it is. Yes, our food is designed, which actually requires a lot more to it to be able to qualify. We're all life stages, from the youngest puppies to the oldest seniors, from the littlest dogs to the biggest dogs. Ours is certified for every single dog, every single breed, every single age, every single size.
That's a great thing when you have multiple dogs. I guess you got to have that when you have 45 dogs in your house.
We have 45 different breeds. We have a minimum of 50 or more. When we started in 1994, we were rescuing Great Danes because there was nobody rescuing them. They were being put to sleep in shelters. The first month, we had 102 full-size Great Danes in our house and 62 puppies under 7 weeks of age.
Wow, and I complain about picking up after my one dog.
I know. I was going to say the cleanup must have been a crew.
Well, let me just tell you, just to feed these dogs is a job. You imagine you see a big bag of dog food, our 30-pound bag, we feed 20 of those a day. Just think what it is to lift, carry, and pour and clean up from 20 bags of dog food every single day.
That's a lot of work.
For 20 years.
But you're Robin. You can handle anything.
That's right. I'm a crime fighter.
Well, you're still a superhero. I guarantee that. What you do with the dogs.
Now you're a real
superhero in my book.
Yeah, you're a real superhero now.
And I have a cat named Andy, and everybody got to show their animals, so there's mine. There you go. There's Andy. And I was like these guys said, I actually researched for this when we booked you, and I could not believe how reasonably priced this is, and I'm going to be doing that transition just like you said. With Andy.
I was shocked,
Me too, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the big difference is when you have change, sometimes you notice it and sometimes it's subtle. But after you switch to our food and say 5 or 6 months go by and your dog has no ailments, no illnesses, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, I don't recall him getting sick, or my cat, I don't understand it. He's having no issues. There's no hairball problems. There's no, sensitive belly problem. There's no issues.
That's awesome.
That's
I'm
great,
looking forward to it.
That's great.
So the people who are watching this have seen I put 2 of your websites are constantly scrolling so they can see that. Well, can you give your website out to the people who are listening?
Yeah, GentleGiantsDogFood.com is our website. Our store is GentleGiantsPetProducts.com. But you can also access our store from our GentleGiantsDogFood.com. And then we have GentleGiantsCatFood.com. And also you can access our store from the cat food site as well. And there's lots of free information. And, if people have questions, right on our bag, on every bag of our food, on every can of our canned food, it has our phone number. You can call and get free help. And by the way, we make our food fresh every weekday. We don't have any warehouses with dog food sitting there for weeks and months like other companies do, waiting to be sold. We make our only to order, and we make it every day, and we sell it to our customers and retailers every single week. They're getting fresh food. And with our canned food, all the ingredients are fresh. I mean, our cannery is right near the ocean. So when the ships come in the morning, early in the morning from being out all night fishing, we're getting the freshest fish that have come in that same day. And the beef and our canned food, we have a 90% beef, a 90% turkey, a 90% salmon, and a 90% chicken. And then for cats, we have a 90% beef, 90% chicken, 90% tuna, and a 90% salmon. All the ingredients are fresh.
I'm going to start eating it.
Right, and do you have any?
Probably be healthier.
I'm sorry. Do you have any personal appearances coming up? I know that they have the Batman 66 exhibit's been extended. Are you going to be making any appearances in connection with that?
You know, when they first opened the exhibit at the Hollywood Museum, I was there for several days, and there was a big thing. But I guess, between the COVID thing and working 7 days a week and not being directly in L.A., about an hour east of Los Angeles, that I don't know that I'll be making any appearances. I'm going to be doing what they call virtual appearances like this, where we can, make appearances at events. And there's actually some new technology that I will be able to sign autograph, actually sign somebody's name, and at the other end, a printer with a Sharpie that precisely matches my signature would sign a fresh autograph with fresh ink.
Wow. That is amazing.
So there's some really great technology. Plus, with this technology, everybody that would come to say hi and meet me would also get a video of that experience. So they're walking away with a video and an autograph picture instead of just an autograph photo.
Well, I mean, then we're ahead of the curve because this has been a dream come true for me. I've met you before, but to get this much time with you and to talk about your pet food and your humanitarian ways with it's just amazing to meet you, Burt. I want to thank you for being on the show. I'm sure the other guys feel the same way. You've been terrific.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, as we said on Batman, to the Batmobile, citizen.
Applause for an amazing guest.
That was great.
Joe Silkey's here. He just came back. He told me he had a date with Eunice. So he took this and
she's mine.
God, what a show, man. We are so lucky to have like a legend on the show. And speaking of legends,
nobody.
And speaking of legends, we have our own legend, poet laureate here.
Hey.
Mike Grief.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, I got something for you guys. Speaking of, listen, Batman had Robin. They was partners in crime. So I wrote one of my my Hallmark cards, and it's for your, if you have a partner in crime. Now, not everything works out like Batman and Robin, so this is kind of a little different, but it's a birthday card for your partner in crime. Happy birthday to my partner in crime. I know it was you that turned me in last time. Enjoy the cake. Enjoy the cake. It was specially made with love and poison and a chocolate glaze. It's your birthday, so let go of your cares. I hope you have settled all your affairs. Happy birthday, you rat piece of shit.
Beautiful.
That's touching, right from the heart.
It really is. You are the boy wonder.
I do one for Christine every week. I got to do it. That was for Robin, but also I got to do it for. She knows.
Christine loves your stuff, and she came to see you more than your mother.
Oh, by the way, Joe.
Yes.
We talked about your dog. We talked. I don't know if you saw it.
Rufus.
Yeah, there. I just want to show. There's you and your dog.
That's when he was a puppy, and that was about a year or so ago.
That's a pretty dog.
And his full name is Rufus T. Firefly Silky, named after Groucho Marx.
Wow.
His last name was Silky?
Cigar, walks around smoking a cigar. And
5 years ago.
What movie was that?
Duck Soup.
5 years ago today, I came to Coconut Island without a nickel in my pocket. Today, I got a nickel in my pocket. I worked myself up. I'm nothing to a state of extreme poverty.
Ma'am, could you please get off my son's lap so I can see the sunrise? Oh, well, hey, this has been too much fun, and this is a great afternoon. Hope you guys at home enjoyed this. And if you enjoyed this, there's more of this madness every week at the www.thebbbbradio.com. We have all of our present shows, our past shows, and we even have a link now for
our future shows.
That's right. And you can see us on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, follow us, subscribe to us, make a comment, laugh, love it, do it. Otherwise, Craig's going to come looking for you.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe bell button, whatever it is. Just do it.
Give us a thumbs up, too.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Yep.
And Craig will tell you where, because I can't remember.
Throw me under the bus there, Joe. At Twitter, at BBB Radio Podcast. I wasn't prepared for that, but okay. And we're here every Friday at noon.
Tune in next week to more Bitchin' Baby Boomers.